Hello everyone, welcome to AWS Tutorials. In AWS Tutorials, you learn about AWS services. Today we are going to learn how you can detect sensitive data in your ETL job using patterns, and once you detect such data, how to handle it. So let's get started about it. So quickly, what is sensitive data? Sensitive data could be anything. The most popular one is PII data, where you can use that information to identify a person. It could be your mobile number, email, social security number, passport, vehicle number plate, driving license, or even biometrics like your fingerprints. Um, Intellectual property is also considered sensitive data because many companies' business is based on intellectual property, and if that intellectual property is stolen, then the company can go to a big loss, and their uniqueness is gone, their proprietary is gone. And code is one example of sensitive data which is of intellectual property type. Similarly, it can also be a security information like your credential, access keys, security token. So all these things are considered sensitive data. It's not limited to these three examples only, but just I gave some example just to set the ground at what exactly is sensitive data. So how exactly we are supposed to handle this sensitive data, or generally people handle sensitive data. So suppose you are building data platform where you are trying to bring some data from your ERP system through a Glue job and putting into a data lake. And suppose some sensitive data is coming through this ERP system, and this sensitive data could be any of the PI data or any other information which can identify a human. And when such sensitive data comes, basically you want to do two things. First, you want to detect that such sensitive data is passing through my ETL pipeline. And the second thing is that you want to handle it. And the way you can handle it, either you can simply mask or hash the data so that it's not readable at all, or you might want to keep data as it is but put very restrictive access to it. Okay, so generally these are the two methods people use for handling the sensitive data. But before you handle it, you first need to detect that such sensitive data is passing through your pipeline through your ETL job. So how does Glue identify sensitive data passing through? So in Glue, you have an out-of-box transformation that is called detect PII, or detect sensitive data. And basically this transformation, if you put this transformation as a part of your Glue ETL job, then this transformation can actually detect your sensitive data. Okay, and once it detects the sensitive data, basically it can handle your data as well, but it can handle your data in the following three ways. First, it will simply detect the data. It will simply say, okay, in your data set, in the following column, or in a certain column in the following location, it has detected some sensitive data. So it will not do any masking or hashing, but it will simply identify the location of sensitive data in your data, and it will enrich the result. Whatever outcome comes out, it will have a detailed location information about that sensitive data. That's the one way you can handle sensitive data. And basically this method is generally used if you want to know that some sensitive data is coming through your ETL pipeline, and then probably you want to build a follow-up workflow which will say restrict access to those columns and so on. So in certain ETL pipeline, you don't want your ETL pipeline to mask or hash data, but simply inform you that, hey, I detect some sensitive data passing through my ETL pipeline. What other way it can handle is that it can mask your data. It can simply replace your data with some kind of redact text, or it can also apply cryptographic hashing to hash your data. So these are the three ways Glue ETL job can handle your sensitive data. So once it has identified your data using this out-of-box transformation, one of the three methods can be used to handle your sensitive data. And what I did actually long back, even before this feature was in preview, I already created a video about it. So I'm going to put a description of that video link of that video in the description box, and then you can refer that if you want to know more about how this particular transformation works. But important thing to understand is that Glue job comes with out-of-box transformation to identify and handle your sensitive data, and it can handle sensitive data in the 3 ways I just described here. So how does that look like? So suppose you want to handle some sensitive data, and once you identify the sensitive data, you want to redact it, okay, or you want to mask it. Just I'm giving one example so that you understand. So suppose that your data is coming in the following JSON format, where you see it has email address as sensitive data over here, something which can be used to identify a particular person. So if this is the input data, and if this input data passes through this particular transformation, and if you have selected that your data should be redacted, then in that case your output will look something like this, where you have seen that this email address in this particular column, or in this particular text over here in this column, in both places it is replaced by a mask. So this is how in this particular example where you choose to handle by redaction, your data is handled. Cool. So what are the out-of-box supported sensitive data? So because sensitive data could be anything, so this out-of-box transformation I'm talking about, what are the out-of-box sensitive data it can handle. So this is the a list of that, or a grouping of that. So it can handle all the universal identifiers, HIPAA identifiers, your network identifiers like MAC addresses, IP addresses, United States passport phone numbers, UK again bank account numbers, VAT numbers, and other identifiers, and also Japan, Japanese social security number and passport. So these are the out-of-box identifiers which it can out-of-box identify, detect, and handle. And that brings us to today's problem. And that is, what if you are trying to identify certain data which is not in the supported list? For instance, you saw that it's identifying only identities from US, UK, or Japan. Suppose you are living in Europe somewhere and you have some special identifier from that particular country, and you want to identify that. And it is not supported in out-of-box sensitive data identifier. So how do we do that? So if you have any data which is not in the supported list, but still you want to detect it and handle it, and that's where there comes a need where you can create a detection pattern to identify such non-supported such sensitive data which is not in the out-of-box supported list. Let's take it that way. So you can use detection pattern to identify such data. How do you create this detection pattern? It's pretty straightforward, to be very honest. Very simple. So you will have a screen like this where you can simply provide your pattern name and you can provide your expression. And basically this expression is the way it identifies your sensitive data, and this expression is defined using regular expression. So you can use a regular expression to identify the pattern in which your sensitive data will come, and when you configure your PI detection transformation with this custom detection pattern, then what that transformation will do, that it will simply use this regular expression to identify what sensitive data is coming into your data pipeline, into your ETL pipeline, and it will simply handle the data the way you have asked it to handle, with a mask it or hash it. So The use is pretty straightforward. So if out-of-box patterns are not working for you, then you can create a custom detection pattern and ask your detect sensitive data transformation to use this custom pattern to identify sensitive data and then handle it. Pretty straightforward. So that was very much concept-wise how it works. So what we are going to do today is going to build a demo where we will have some sensitive data in S3 bucket, which will simply like to detect using a custom detection pattern. And then we'll simply mask that data at the target location. So that's what we plan to do in the demo today. So let's go to the demo. Here I am in AWS Management Console. Let me show you a few things which I have already configured to save time. So first of all, I have some source S3 bucket, like Dojo dataset bucket. I have got a customers folder where I have got customers.csv file. This is my source data, which has got some sensitive data which I want to detect using a custom pattern. This is my destination location, which is right now empty because this is where I want to write my handled sensitive data. Okay. Then what I have done is that I have simply cataloged my source data. So my source data, which is in the customers folder, I have simply cataloged as a customers table in Dojo database using Glue crawler. This is how the schema look like. I have got ID, name, a message, and a special ID. And this is a special ID which is actually present in this particular column, and it is also in this message. And I want to detect it, and I want to mask it actually, yeah, I want to mask it. So let me show you how does the data look like, and I'll show you what I want to detect. So if I go to my DojoDB customers and say select star from customers. Let's run this query. I should get some results out, not much, 4 records. So what I want to do here, if you see, I'm looking for a pattern like this in this example, where there are 3 digits, then hyphen, and then 3 digits. So if I see data like this anywhere, like in a particular column or in a message, then I want to simply redact it. So you can see there are a couple of instances of this. So that this one instance here, one instance here, one instance here, and one instance here. There are 4 instances where I see we have a pattern where there are 3 digits, then it's a dash, and then 3 digit, yeah, this makes my. Now this could be any identifier, like in a particular country, it could be a VAT number, could be a tax number, could be a passport number, could be a social security number, could be anything else. In this example, I took a very simple, I'm not very great in regex, so I took a very simple example where I'm looking for a pattern where there are 3 digits, then dash, then 3 digits, and if I find such pattern, I want to mask it. And I put something similar like 2 digits and like this, and then 2 digits and then like this, which it should not mask these numbers because they are not matching the pattern. But these 4 instances should be masked. This is what we want to do. So let's build this. So first thing we need to do is to create a custom detection pattern. So for that, I am in a Glue Management Console. If I go to here in data integration ETL, you can see data classification tools. You go to sensitive data detection, and I say let's create a new pattern here, and this one I will call it my spatial pattern. And then here I need to provide the regular expression. So for instance, in this case, it is 3 digit, then dash, then 3 digits. So I will do it something like this. As I told you, I'm not very great in regular expression, so I took a very simple example which I can manage myself. So this pattern simply detects any, this expression detects any pattern where there are 3 numbers, then dash, then 3 numbers. I can put some more contextual work. So for instance, if it is a passport, then it will come with some contextual work around that. Or if it is social security number, it will come with some contextual words around that. You can add those things here as well to make to make identification or match more likelihood. But in this case, I'm not using any kind of context word over here. It's an optional. Okay. Then you create the pattern. So now my pattern is created, which I can use in my Glue ETL job to basically identify such data in my Glue job and handle it. So let's go back to my visual ETL. I want to create a black canvas for my Glue job. I simply say create. Then I go to, here we go. Let me go to job details first and do few configurations. So let me say this is my dojo job. Okay, just keep it simple. And IAM role, I want to use Dojo Glue row, which I have already configured. I'm using Spark out of box, default Glue 3.0. Now 4.0 is also available. Python 3, just one worker. It's 10 workers, and then G1X type instance. Job bookmark is disabled, and then a number of retries is 0. So this looks good to me. Let me save it. Now I go to my visual and let's start configuring it. So first thing first, let me read data from the source. So okay, let me close this one here. So let's read data from source. So I simply say I want to read it from the Glue catalog. So in Glue catalog, I want to read it from DojoDB, and in DojoDB, I want to read it from my customers table. So all is good. This is nice. So I have got my source data reading done from my customers table. Now I want to detect my PI data. So in generally, you will create an ETL job where you do more transformation, but in this case, I'm keeping it very simple. I want reading the source data, identify the PI data, handle it, and then simply write to destination. So I come over here in my action and say I want to use this detect sensitive data. And I need to configure it. So if I come over here in the configuration, so say, okay, do you want to look into certain columns, or you want to look for entire row? And say, I want to look for entire data set, okay? Because I suspect that my data could be in more than one column. And you can see you can use one of these out of box. So for instance, if you use this, you can use, okay, let's look for all 178 sensitive data types, all out of box supported. Or you can go for a particular category where you can say, okay, let me look into HIPAA or networking and so on. In this case, I'm looking for a specific pattern. My specific pattern is basically my spatial pattern. Remember this one we created. So I'm looking for my spatial pattern. So this is how I detect. So I'm detecting it using, how do I detect it? By using my spatial pattern, my regex. Then what do you want to do? I can do one of these three tasks. In this case, since I want to mask it, then I go for redact detected data and say, how do you want to redact it? And say, okay, let's put some hash over there. Replace it with hash. So far, so good. So we are good with this second sensitive data configuration. I want to look for entire data set. I want looking for a special pattern, not any of the out of box, but they are not going to work for me in this case. And then I simply want to redact the data. Then I have to write this data to target. So I simply go and say, okay, I want to write it to the S3 bucket. Okay. And then let's configure it. So I want to write it in a CSV format. Okay. And then I want to choose my destination location, which in this case is, if I come over here and copy this URI, this is my destination location. Let me, sometime some format don't work. So let me do this way. Let me browse and do it from here. So if I go here and say dozo dataset output. Okay, I could have lived with that. Then I want to also catalog it just to see how my output looks. So create a table in data catalog and then update the schema and so on. Yeah, in a new partition. And I want to catalog my data in DojoDB, and my table name will be, say, customers out, and save it. So it's saving my job. Fair enough. So basically, if you look at the destination configuration, all I'm doing is that saying, hey, whatever sensitive data handles comes out, you in CSV format write to this output location, create a schema, and this is how you create the schema. In DojoDB, this is a table name. So now that my job is created, which is going to detect my data based on certain pattern, I'm going to run this job. So let's run this job. Okay, and if I go to runs tab, I can see my job is in progress. So let's wait till this job finishes, and then at that point of time we will see how does the outcome look like. So let's wait for job to finish. Okay, so you can see the job has succeeded. Now if I go to my S3 bucket and if I refresh the output location, I do see a file here. So very good, nice, I like that. Now if I go to my Athena and if I refresh my catalog, I should see a customers out table created. So let me query data from here, customers and then out. So if I see the data here, you can see here, so it has done a little bad cataloging. It has taken my header as one of the row, but never mind. We can probably fix it later. But what you see here is that wherever there was sensitive data, that has been redacted or hashed, masked by the character I provided for the masking. So your original data was, if I go here, original data was like this, where you have got like your sensitive 4 instances of sensitive data here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if I look at my output, this looks like this. So my cataloging has not been good. That's something to fix. It has put everything into one column, but I think that's something we can fix. It's more of a crawling problem, which we can fix later. But what you see here is that your data has been masked and cataloged at 4 instances. So that was all I wanted to show you today. Hope you like the video, and if you like the video, please click on the like button. Please subscribe to my channel. I promise to come back again in a week's time with another such video. In the meantime, please stay safe and have a nice day. Bye-bye.